Hey there, I'm a glue stick, so I have one job. I glue kid stuff. So sorry for being jealous of Geico, who does a ton more, like give you 24/7 access to thousands of licensed agents. And Geico has been around for over 75 years and has a 97% customer satisfaction rating. While I've just got mediocre adhesive skills, Geico also has an award-winning mobile app. Uh-oh, arts and crafts time. No eating the glue stick, Miss Lydia!
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Hey there, I'm a glue stick, so I have one job. I glue kid stuff. So sorry for being jealous of Geico, who does a ton more, like give you 24/7 access to thousands of licensed agents. And Geico has been around for over 75 years and has a 97% customer satisfaction rating. While I've just got mediocre adhesive skills, Geico also has an award-winning mobile app. Uh-oh, arts and crafts time. No eating the glue stick, Miss Lydia!
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
This is the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast.
What better way to start a football Friday right before the playoffs in the NFL? A little Cardi B to get us going.
Cardi B and Bruno Mars, man.
What was it? Finesse is the name of that
Finesse,
song?
yeah.
See, that's me. That's me associating with the kids.
See?
Yeah, that's me. If we believe that this guy over here, that disembodied voice of Michael Jr. is still a kid, which is.
Do you think your son Chappie, who is my daughter's age, or he's 22, 23, 22?
Yeah.
Do you think he's at home if he's listening right now going, wow, Dad's cool?
A, he's not listening.
Yeah,
that's fair.
A, he's definitively not
right,
listening.
Right.
And B, no, I don't think he's ever said
Good
that.
video, though, right?
Yeah, quality video, big-time tribute to In Living Color. Bruno Mars still got the juice.
Bruno Mars.
Unparalleled levels of juice.
You know, when they sit there and talk about what would you like to do for that one thing, and I said, I'd love to be LeBron for a day and know what it's like to be one of the greatest athletes in the world. I'd love to dance like Bruno Mars.
Him and Justin Timberlake.
Can move. Yeah, can move.
J. Tim's got a new album out, too. It dropped called Friday, if I'm not mistaken.
I know he put out a new single last night.
I think the album is called The Friday.
Yeah,
Friday. We got me relating.
We got new JT. We got Cardi B's basically on everything right now. I'm sure she's up listening to the show, so we appreciate her.
Hey, whatever you need to tell yourself. We welcome you in to Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. We are here for a football Friday. The playoffs are here. Absolutely pumped for what's going to happen.
We did that. It took off for its drive down to Atlanta. It'll be down there. It's going to be there. It's going to be at the Super Bowl, the draft. But the first stop will be Atlanta. So we look forward to that. You're going down tomorrow, and you're going to be at an AutoZone hanging out, right? And visiting with folks out there.
I think the first 25 people get their oil changed by me.
Really?
So they lose?
Don't be one of the first 25 people there then.
Yeah, you don't want this. I don't change my own oil.
I was about to say, have you ever changed your oil?
No.
There you go.
Use your dipstick, Jimmy.
I didn't teach the kids how to change the oil. I'm not going to lie about that.
What was that?
I did not teach the kids how to change the oil. I'm trying to teach them about changing their filters, being able to change a tire.
Well, you had to teach Rebecca Lobo about changing filters.
My God, those filters.
Steve, the filters, changing a tire, and again, shutting the water, knowing where to shut the water off if you have a problem in your house.
Especially if you live where we live. If you don't shut the outside water off, you have major problems when we move ahead. To the winter and then try and get it going in the spring.
Hope everybody got through that storm yesterday. That was a tough one. There's no doubt about it.
The bomb cyclone, Winter Storm Brody. They're calling it Winter Storm Grayson in other parts of the country.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're calling it Brady up here.
I don't know who gets the name, but I know in Boston, man, they had the flooding going on. So the break walls, gave way. It was a tough call.
I wonder if it was named Winter Storm Brady in Boston because that would be a really hitting us over the head with irony based on what we're getting ready to talk about for most of the day.
Which we will get into later on the article on ESPN.com with Seth Wickersham. He'll join us, by the way, at the bottom of the hour about the things that may be going on in somewhat of a power struggle between the three things that have been the constant during this unbelievable dynastic run by the New England Patriots, owner Bob Kraft, head coach Bill Belichick, and quarterback Tom Brady. By the way, going back to your appearance on AutoZone in Atlanta over the weekend, the first 50 people that show up will get a prize, correct?
Yes, they will.
Okay, and by the way, again, we will be there at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Gate 2, for our show 6 to 10 Monday morning in Atlanta. And if you want to know exactly where we're going to be and how to get there, check out our pinned tweet on our Twitter page at Golic and Wingo. All the information there. I think the gates open at 5 a.m. We'll be there at Gate 2, so come on down, say hi. We'll be there getting ready. We'll have all kinds of great guests.
Yeah, check out the bus. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah.
And the bus will be there.
My goal is to buy the Super Bowl to get whatever license is necessary for me to drive the bus.
You want to drive the bus?
That was what disappointed me. I wanted to drive the bus down to Atlanta. I've always wanted to road trip like that.
Yeah. I want you to drive the bus when I'm not in it.
Fair.
Just so you know.
You know what? I'm kind of with you. I kind of want to drive a bus. I want to drive like an 18-wheeler as well. I want to just get going on one of the big
I think an
boys.
18-wheeler might be easier because it has the cab that sort of turns, and the trailer comes with you.
Yep.
The bus is one. I mean, it's like driving the world's biggest limo. I mean, you got to be very careful how you maneuver that bus. So I'm happy that both of you want to do that. Take lots of classes,
but we're not doing it. Right?
No, take lots of classes, and then when you get all this kinds of certification, I will think about being on the bus when one.
We
of you
met the
is
driver.
driving
Look like a
solid
good
citizen.
Yeah.
Real straight shooter.
Yeah.
We learned very quickly the rules about the bus, too. Jason Fitz, who co-hosts Spain and Fitz, for many years was the fiddle player and the musical director for the band Perry.
Right.
And was giving us a lot of general knowledge about bus travel and bus use that we wouldn't have known before, and very specific bathroom instructions on the bus.
Yeah.
Very specific.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want that to be a problem.
No.
By the way, I want to talk to Fitz about that because, it seems like musical director, fiddle player, band Perry, very good gig.
Yeah.
Very solid gig. Very solid gig.
I know.
I want to have a career discussion with him.
It's a very solid gig until you spend 330 days of the year inside of one of those buses. So imagine living your life from now on in the Golic and Wingo tour bus.
Yeah. Hence the specific bathroom instructions.
See, there you go. Very specific.
It all comes back to
the
that.
weirdest one to me was that not to use the water on the bus, too.
Yeah.
By the way,
we'll find that out. I'm going to have to debrief Fitz for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, we're going to have to talk.
We got a lot to get to today, so let's start the show like we do most days.
It's time for Off the Top.
Whether you like it or not, it's just beginning.
With Golic and Wingo.
All right, we start off the top in the NBA playing without Kevin Durant, calf. The Warriors defeated the James Hardenless Rockets 124-114. Draymond Green recorded his 21st career triple-double, passing Tom Gola for the most in Warriors history.
If you had Tom Gola as when you think of that, you pass somebody. Okay, who did he pass? Anybody who had Tom Gola, congrats to you. It's pretty impressive. It's the second triple-double of the season this year. And how about this? The most consecutive wins by a player's team when he records that triple-double. Draymond Green is now at 21 straight. Magic leads the way at 24 straight, but this obviously is an active streak going on right now. Will Chamberlain, it was 21 straight. Russell Westbrook, 20 straight. It was his 12th career triple-double where he took fewer than 10 shots as well. So while he's also the emotional leader of that team as well, and the way he plays, he is, the way he throws around those triple doubles, and obviously they win when he gets them, is pretty impressive.
Yeah, just in general, a guy that stuffs the stat sheet. Draymond Green is always going to be the deepest guy in your box score on any given night because he's asked to do so much, and that's sort of what's always been endearing about him and made you sort of understand and tolerate at times him being really outspoken. Some of the technicals that tend to come up is because you need that kind of guy in your team that's willing to do everything when you've got the talent.
And you got to let him be him. People always say when he's getting the technicals, you have to slow him down, talk to him. Well, you have to talk to him to a point, but you can't take away, his tenacity and the way he likes to play the game, because that's what makes him Draymond Green.
It is, and it gives that team the edge, I think, in a lot of times when you talk about the postseason grittiness and the way they have to do things. I mean, the threes are great, but at the end of the day, you need someone to do the dirty work, and I think that's the role that Draymond has sort of relished in this team that has so much, for like, the beautiful players. You know what I mean? He's not the beautiful player, but sometimes he's the most important player, and we certainly saw that in the game against the Rockets.
He ended his triple-double, by the way, was 17 points, 14 rebounds, and 10 assists. Steph Curry had 29 in this one. Klay Thompson had 28. So
again, beautiful players.
and no Kevin Durant.
Exactly.
Wow.
That's going to be the problem for everybody else going forward. We continue.
Off the top.
More NBA. The Thunder continued to roll, and the Thunder rolls. Garth Brooks. Thursday with a 127-117 win over the Clippers. Russell Westbrook's 29 points helped pace OKC, and he collected his 13th triple-double of the season.
A team that brought in a couple of stars and was struggling.
Yep.
Was clearly struggling, and it was like, okay, give them time. When these guys get together, they kind of figure it out. Russell Westbrook's still going to have the ball in his hand the most, What is he going to decide to do with it? He did still take 24 shots last night, but he has 29 points. Carmelo Anthony, 22 points. Paul George, 31 points. It seems that Carmelo is going to be the least shooter out of this threesome, but they've got themselves up to 22-17 now, 5th in the conference, so certainly starting to define their roles a little more.
I think the biggest turning point, too, came when Carmelo was one of the guys that said, we need Russ to go out there and be Russ. Stop worrying about trying to involve us in all this. We'll figure it out, but him going out and playing the best way that he knows how is still what's ultimately going to make this team win, and then we'll focus on figuring out where we fit into that.
Well, the best news out of this game is what we talked about, those three working together, those 82 points, second most in a game as teammates. That's something that has sort of been the struggle for this thing the entire time. So it's nice to see that's clicking and see if they can continue that really in the second half of the NBA's regular season.
Off the top.
And staying in the NBA, the Greek freak, Buck star Giannis Antetokounmpo led all All-Star balloting after the first 12 games of the fan vote. He's ahead of the Cavs' LeBron James by nearly 7,500 votes.
Yeah, they're the two top, 863 plus thousand, 856 plus thousand for LeBron. The only other person over 800,000 is Kyrie Irving from Boston. It's pretty wild there, but Kyrie leads the guards. He and DeMar DeRozan are 1-2. That front court you mentioned, Giannis and LeBron, Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, also 1-2 in the front court, and in the guards, Steph Curry and James Harden leading the way there. So Steph Curry already missing time with the ankle, Harden out with the hamstring. We'll see where that goes. But this year, it's the two top vote getters are captains, and they're doing a pickup game basically.
They're doing a pickup game, but where the picks are kept secret. Right. So you end up with the final teams, but you don't know the order and who made the picks, which I heard Stephen A. Smith fired up about the other day, but really removes all the drama from it. Like the NBA, you figured they would court that idea of knowing who got picked last. If LeBron James decides not to pick Kyrie Irving, all of these different things that could come up over the course of this.
I don't think they want that. I think that's why they're keeping it secret. The players, I don't think, when you're on that schoolyard, none of the all-stars, even you're an all-star. Yeah, but I was picked last. You don't want to be picked last. You know the feelings that can be hurt with some of these guys.
Can I just weigh in here?
Yeah, go ahead.
I know those feelings.
Yeah.
You guys never did. Okay, you guys never did. You're in my wheelhouse now. Yeah, I'll go. I'll be. All right, we'll take Wingo. All right, fine. Let's come on.
Is it really a tough thing?
Terrible.
Yeah.
You want to be the last one there? Guys, I'm over here. I'm open. Hit me. No, it's awful. It's awful.
It's like Kevin Love's entire Cavaliers tenure.
I'm over here. Entire tenure.
That seems like the way they've treated poor Kevin Love. All the while, he's just there trying to help everyone. Be nicer to Kevin.
I just want to help the team. I'm with you, Kev. Kev, stay strong. I'm with you. And we finish up
off the top.
Well, with some disappointing news if you're a huge tennis fan. 7-time Australian Open winner Serena Williams has withdrawn from this year's event. Williams is 36 years old, has spent nearly a year out of competitive tennis, taking a maternity leave after winning last year's Open. By the way, beating her sister when she was pregnant at the time, which is just amazing.
Yeah, it really is. She said basically, I realize I'm not where I want to be. She feels she's going to be there soon, but just not where she wants to be right now. It's still amazing what she has done. And now after having a child and coming back after the pregnancy, I would imagine just because she's been the most dominant player that the expectation is for her to do that. But I mean, we have no idea. It's her first child. She's coming back from that. So, we certainly, very difficult for us to give any kind of context to coming back from something like that. So, knowing her and her work ethic, I don't think anybody is going to doubt her on how she's going to come back.
No, but that's a good point, is when you're the best to your standard for what feels normal for you enough to come back is probably a lot higher than everyone else's standard. And, oh, by the way, I mean, she gave birth to her daughter in September.
Yeah.
Like, we would still be on paternity leave right now, sitting at home eating chips on the couch, so I don't think that there's any really...
We, as in men?
Well, yeah.
We wouldn't be giving birth. The world would be so less populated if this were on us.
No, I meant paternity leave.
That is a fact,
I meant just as the husband.
The leave that we could take.
Exactly.
We had nothing to do with it outside in the beginning of this process, and we'd still be taking our time off.
Exactly,
okay,
yeah. So she has earned the break here, considering everything that has gone into motherhood for her since September.
Actually, yeah, she gave birth remember during the U.S. Open as we were down there covering it on ESPN and the ESPN
Well, of course,
family,
not playing in it.
No, not me. No, I was enjoying the coverage.
No, I'm saying her not playing.
Yes,
in it.
Also a good idea.
Yeah.
Don't be playing tennis as you're giving birth. We're going to give out a couple things of advice. That would be probably the best thing. So if you're listening and you're thinking about having a child or you're in the process of having, don't be playing tennis at that time.
Wouldn't be a thing to do.
But again, Andy Murray, by the way, also out of the Australian Open on the men's side. He's considering having hip surgery. That has been bothering him for a while, actually, going back to Wimbledon.
That'll put you out for a bit.
It has, and it's been an issue for him for a while. We were there at Wimbledon, and a three-time major winner has not played a competitive match since losing that quarterfinal exit at Wimbledon in July. And again, the Australian Open, great start to the tennis year. It'll be on the ESPN family of networks coming up pretty soon, and it's always summer down there in January.
It is.
And it can get as bad as we're talking about Winter Storm Grayson or Brady or the bomb cyclone or the bombogenesis. It is hot in Australia and in Melbourne this time of year. So if you ever have a chance to go down there, it's a lot of fun. It's one of the great major events there is on the calendar because it's completely different than almost everything else. Those Aussies, they like to have a good time. Yeah. Did you ever play a game in Australia?
I did not.
I know a couple people.
I played in London a couple times. As far as
Schlereth might have played.
I called a game that was in Japan. Played a couple in London. Never to Australia. That's a haul. Well, Japan was a haul as well.
Played one in Ireland. They kept us way outside of the city as 120 college kids. I have a feeling letting us loose in Dublin was the last thing on their mind.
Yeah, because Chris and I went to that. We got let loose in Dublin, and good thing you guys weren't there.
Yeah, you didn't want to see that. Basically what your dad's saying. You didn't want to see that. No, but Australia, thumbs up in a big way, by the way. It's a good time. We'll just leave it at that. And that is Off the Top as we continue here on Golic and Wingo. Again, the big story that dropped on ESPN.com overnight, Seth Wickersham's breakdown of potentially some cracks in the foundation, if you will, in that holy triumvirate in New England that has been so successful, really, since they won Super Bowl 36. Beating the Rams 21-17 in New Orleans. It's really shocked the world, and they've continued that unfettered run now with 5 Super Bowl rings for Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, and some things that may have gone awry over the last 18 months or so. And Seth Wickersham, by the way, will join us in the studio to talk about that article and what he sees and what he's been reporting on. And we'll get to that in a little bit, but the team that a lot of people think may have the best chance to end the Patriots' chance at getting to another Super Bowl this year, that would be the Pittsburgh Steelers, and really some very, very good news from what looked like a very dire situation earlier this year.
Again, Ryan Shazier, that Monday night game when he got hit, reached immediately for his back, and we were all, anybody who's seen players lay on the field in that situation, you're waiting to see every body part move, and we never saw his legs move, and we've never got any reports about that as well. We knew he was at a game, but the reports have been really kept under wraps. Well, his father, Vernon Shazier, said his son does have his regained feeling in his legs.
That's the best possible news.
Fantastic news. We haven't heard about walking or anything at this point, but he has regained feelings in his legs. Vernon Shazier said he's a long way from where he was Monday night when he was laying on the field. His father thinks he's going to play football again, at some point, and I'm sure that's obviously a long way off. He said he's much better. Vernon said, but we've agreed to keep his progress private until he's ready to share where he is at. So that's great news that he has feeling in his legs, but and we still don't know, and that's fine. That's up to them on when they want to let everybody know where they are. As his father said, that's up to Ryan and when he wants to let everybody know that. But boy, that's fantastic news.
Yeah, and it is great that he's being afforded that level of privacy. We talked about this a little bit when Bruce Arians retired and mentioned he told his team the night before, and they lied to the media for him so that that story could be told when he wanted it to, and in a much more personal vein even here for Ryan to be able to be the one that tells this story when he's ready to and keep us updated when he's comfortable is the most important part of all of this, that he can be allowed. But as far as playing football again, listen, Mark Herzlich was one of the best linebackers I had ever seen at Boston College, and then went through his battle with cancer during my tenure at Notre Dame and saw him come back on the back end. And the whole time while he was battling, you heard him saying, I'm going to play football again. And it's hard to doubt the resolve of guys who get it in their mind like that, who are as strong-willed as some of the athletes we see succeed on these big stages.
And look, that would be the ultimate comeback story out of this. It's great. But at the end of the day, I think the most important thing here is let's try and see where he can go with his life going forward. Again, this was a report on WPXI Pittsburgh And really, it got into some of the things that we were all thinking and worrying about when we saw it in that Monday night game against the Bengals. His dad, Vernon, said, Shazier said to him, "Daddy, pray for me. I can't feel my legs." He underwent that spinal stabilization surgery December 7th. And again, while he wouldn't offer specifics, but when he says he's making progress daily, and if Vernon is saying, who is a man of faith, by the way, he is a minister,
pastor,
and if he says he believes he will play again, that leads you to believe that things are progressing in a very, very positive way.
And also, from the athlete side of it and their drive and their determination to have that kind of there as, okay, I have feeling in my legs. It's the next step to try and get where I want to be. It's, again, I don't know where he is as far as, is he up? Has he been walking? I have no idea. But to have that goal there and give you something to work for, whether he's going to get there or not, I mean, we have no idea. I don't think Ryan has any idea. But to have the belief you're going to get there and do the work that you need to try and get there, I think that's where Ryan is going to be right now. And he's going to do whatever he can to get back, to get up on his feet, and then I'm sure to try and get back on the field.
All those traits that made him great will continue to help him in this circumstance. So you wish him all the best and respect the privacy now like we do.
Golic and Wingo,
The podcast.
Trey Wingo and Mike Golic Sr. You know who also always gives us the straight talk?
Who's that?
Our man Sal.
Yes, he does.
Sal Paolantonio joins us now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. And Sal, I have to believe that you've never had a problem pumping gas, being a Philadelphia/Southern Jersey guy.
Yeah, listen, I live in Jersey, and this morning I thank the baby Jesus that I do, because from NFL films, I'm going to the airport, but I'm going to stop at the Wawa, and it's 5 below, and I don't have to get out of my car. Somebody else is going to pump the gas for me, and that is a beautiful thing.
That is, at times it comes in very, very handy, but
very handy.
But
Absolutely, it comes in really handy when you're a pregnant mom and you have 3 kids in the car and you don't want to get out of the car. I've seen my wife have to handle that. So I'm telling you, it has its benefits. The gas prices are low in New Jersey, and you don't have to pump your gas. Living in Jersey is good. And you got the Jersey Shore. Those are the 3 best things about living in New Jersey.
And to me, you mentioned the best thing, the Wawa. That's probably the most food I ever ate.
Wawa's
when I was,
number 4, yeah. I stop in, I get my Philly Daily News, I get my coffee, cake, and coffee, and I'm on my way. I'm good to go.
There you go.
The Wawa just overwhelms you with selection.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, you walk in there and you're like, oh my, I can literally get anything I want at a Wawa. Absolutely fantastic. All right, Sal, you're going to be covering the Doug Marrone Bowl for us, for lack of a better term. Buffalo Bills heading down to Jacksonville to take on the Jags, who, of course, are coached by Marrone, who left the Bills after the 2014 season when he led them to 9 wins, their first winning season in a long time. The biggest question, I think, for Buffalo in this game is obviously going to be Shady McCoy. He hurt his ankle in that win over Miami. Where are we in his readiness to play? Because he is really the Bills' offense.
He is, and we know that Shady's got snow tires. He was born with snow tires. We're about to find out if he can finish the Indy 500 with a bum wheel. He's got a bad ankle. He's got pain in his right ankle, and he's a right-handed running back, which means he cuts first on his. You look at him on film, I would say it's 80 to 85%. I don't have the number. I'm just going, empirically. I think he cuts on his right ankle 80 to 85% first. So that tells you a lot about how much he really relies on his right ankle. And he's got pain in it, and he said he wants to go. But his nickname's not Shady for nothing. I've covered this guy for a long time. You never can tell what he's going to bring, on and off the football field. So I'm just going to say this. I expect him to give it a go as much as he wants to play in this game. Multiply it by 20 because it's this particular game and he wants to play in this particular game in the playoffs. I just can't believe Chip Kelly traded LaShawn McCoy. That's the most. I look at this and I'm like, can you imagine if Nick Foles could line up with LaShawn McCoy in the playoffs? It goes down in the annals of bad trades in Philadelphia history. You look at Will Chamberlain and Norman Brayman allowing Reggie White to go in free agency. You were there. You remember, Michael.
Yes.
And then Shady McCoy shipped out of town unceremoniously by Chip Kelly. Shady is a phenomenal running back. You look at his numbers. Since he came into the league, he has more rushing yards than Adrian Peterson. In fact, he's number one. He's got more than I almost said Al Gore. Frank Gore. Not Al Gore. Not Frank Gorshin. Frank Gore. But, he's a tremendous running back. And I think in this particular game, Trey, you have to look at their second best running option. And you know who that is?
That's Tyrod Taylor, yeah.
Yeah, it's Tyrod Taylor, without a doubt. Now, I did radio sideline for ESPN Radio for Bills Pats a couple of weeks ago in Foxborough. And I watched Bill Belichick and Matt Patricia bottle up Tyrod Taylor in a way that I haven't seen thus far. As a matter of fact, you look at Tyrod Taylor's rushing attempts and yards against New England. The first matchup in Buffalo, it was 3 carries for 32 yards. Then it was 3 carries for half that, 16 yards on Christmas Eve in Foxborough. They bottled them up, and they used number 59, Marquise Flowers, as a spy on Taylor very, very effectively. And if I know anything about Marone and Coughlin, the way they run this team, I'm sure they have dissected that tape, and they've looked at how teams, especially the Pats, bottled up Taylor in the pocket.
So, Sal, on the other side of this with Jacksonville, heavy favorite in this game. The question to me from the beginning of the year, I thought Blake Bortles would be the quarterback this year, and then they'd go in a different direction next year. We saw he struggled early on. The games 12, 13, and 14, though. He had really big games. Last 2 games, not so much. Where is the confidence level of Blake Bortles and Jacksonville?
Well, I think the confidence level in their running game and Leonard Fournette, to answer your question, sort of obtusely, is that's very high. And, Fournette was used heavily in the last game. And they found out they couldn't over-rely on him, that the Bortles had to make some plays, and he couldn't. And so that is an issue. But this is a matchup that sets up well against Buffalo's rushing defense. The Bills, and I've seen a bunch of their games this year, they're very good on the perimeter. You're not going to get past Sean McDermott's bend, don't break defense that he learned from Jim Johnson. Their problem is they can't get after the passer. They can't get after the quarterback like Jim Johnson used to do in Philadelphia. So that's the problem, and that has allowed the quarterbacks to make some plays underneath and get the ball down the field. Can Bortles do that is the question. If Fournette is bottled up by the Buffalo defense, I think they're going to rely heavily on Fournette. You got to give credit, really, to Tom Coughlin and Doug Marone, to instill the level of discipline that they have. Go to the running game, have the most rushing attempts. The quarterback's best friend is a great rushing attack. And they have, for the most part, right, Michael? For the most part, they have resuscitated Blake Bortles' career. I mean, he's had some bumps along the road this year, but if they can get the running game going, they can dictate what they want in this football game, I think.
Sal Paolantonio with us, our intrepid ESPN reporter who will be covering the game between the Jags and the Bills. And as much as we've talked about, Tyrod Taylor being bottled up, Blake Bortles rather having to do things well. Can Tyrod Taylor make any plays in the passing game? Because they have been the worst at this basically through the regular season, Sal, with what's going on with their wide receivers. And now you're going up against A.J. Bouye on one side and Jalen Ramsey on the other side and a front seven that led the NFL in sacks. So, Bortles has to be mistake-free, but Tyrod is going to have to make some plays in this game.
You're absolutely right, Trey. And it's not a good matchup. The numbers are daunting. We all know what the numbers are. The Jags defense has been near the top of the league in sacks, in points allowed, in quarterback hits. You mentioned Ramsey. He is a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. There's no question about that. That's a bad matchup for Kelvin Benjamin, who's got a torn meniscus. Is going to have off-season surgery. So it's not a good matchup in the passing game, and it comes down to, is Tyrod Taylor going to be able to get out of the pocket, break down the Jags defense, and throw well enough on the run, or, moving out of the pocket? You have to move the launch point. There's no question they will have to move the launch point for Tyrod Taylor. And he's pretty good. I've watched a lot of his games on tape and in person. He's pretty good at running and throwing, moving and running on the same and throwing at the same time. He's got big hands. He's not like Teddy Bridgewater. His hands are big. His ball comes out with a lot of spin, so it doesn't sail on him. He's very accurate, and he's got a very underrated arm in terms of strength. He can really get the ball down the field. So if you have leakage down the field, he will find somebody. So, yes, the answer is yes. He can make a play or two, and he certainly can be dangerous. He's the second leading rusher on the team running the football.
Well, that'll be the case if they want to extend this playoff run now that they've gotten in for the first time in 17 seasons. Sal, as always, we appreciate you joining us. Go get that gas pumped and get to the Wawa and enjoy your day, my friend.
Thanks, Sal.
Medium coffee, Daily News, I'm good to go. I'll be waiting for the plane, I'm sure, all afternoon.
It might take a while. Settle in. Sal Paolantonio with us on Golic and Wingo. Thanks, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
What a day, what a show, what a time.
I tell you what, a great sports night last night. No doubt about it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
We are joined in studio now by our ESPN NFL insider, Field Yates, giving us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. First and foremost, people may not or know or forget, you actually played college football at Wesleyan.
That's right. Good old Middletown, Connecticut.
And you were a safety or a linebacker?
Safety, yeah. Reserve specialist mostly. You know?
But you were a college football player because people look at you now and you look like a marathon runner. By the way.
Weirdly enough, yes, training for the 2018 Boston Marathon right now, which as we were talking about.
Our fine producer's like in my ear. That's why we said it.
The training for that, when my wife was training for the New York Marathon, it's ridiculous.
It's like a part-time job because you have two options. You can train and survive, or you can not train and subject yourself to hours and hours and hours of torture during the marathon, which it will probably still be torturous. But yeah, it's like, you're constantly planning, especially the long runs of the weekends. It's like, hey, I can't do this on Saturday morning because I got to run 14 miles.
It is
first.
It's crazy. Commitment, I mean, it's crazy. She would go run places and I would be at the Harvest, the place I talk about waiting for her. How awful is that? I mean, brutal. She's running there and I'm just waiting. Can you hurry it up, hon? We got to order here. Can you get that last couple of miles in?
Meanwhile, she's probably like, I'm starving. Like, don't tell me about your desire for some food.
I'll be with you in a minute. I'm busy.
Unreal. That training. Good luck to you on that.
Okay.
It should be fun.
So not only are you going to be running the marathon and you are a fantasy insider and you do all these wonderful things, but before you came to us, you were
worked for the Patriots. In the scouting staff. Yes.
Okay.
So
you are intimately aware of the organization and the hierarchy and how it's built.
Right.
So having seen the Seth Wickersham article, which I'm sure you have, your thoughts are what?
Well, so I think that there are people this morning in the Patriots organization that have said, like, I'm not sure how much I, meaning them, personally see this dynamic play out day to day. Like, this catches some people by surprise in some ways. But at the same time, this piece is focused on three men and their relationship. Obviously, Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and Robert Kraft, the owner. So I think that if there are those that are wondering this morning, like, is the Patriots organizational field toxic day to day? No, I mean, they're 13-3 with the first seed in the AFC.
I was about to say, everybody should be that toxic, right?
Yes, I was going to say, this should be what you emulate, not what you try to avoid. There are elements, though, that I think, if you look closely at how things have gone this season, you understand how we've gotten to this point. A lot of it obviously focuses on, the decision to trade Jimmy Garoppolo when the team did. You think back to this offseason, and we know that Adam Schefter is the most connected man in football. He said a long time ago, I want to say it was like right after last season concluded, the Patriots are not trading Jimmy Garoppolo. They're not doing it. And I can just tell you that there were overtures from multiple franchises, specifically the Browns, as we know, on several occasions to try to pry away Jimmy Garoppolo from the Patriots. And they were ardent in their stance. It's not going to happen. And then it happened all of a sudden on October 30th or 31st. And that also happened on the heels of having traded their other backup quarterback,
Jacoby Brissett,
at the beginning of the previous month, Jacoby Brissett. So it does feel like that, that is an example of something that feels like it was not driven by the conventional Patriots football wisdom, right? It was, if they had this plan going into the season, what changed about this plan? And it sounds like at that point, emotions may have played a part in it. At the end of the day, I also think that a relationship between two people like Tom Brady and Bill Belichick can wear during a season, as is the case. I've talked about this with some of our player analysts, and I'm sure you can speak to this as well. It's like sometimes the hardest part of the season when you're making the playoffs is the last portion of the regular season, because it's like the playoffs are hovering there. We just got to get there. Once we get there, it's like eyes on the prize. But right now, it's the dog days of December or late November in the football season. And I think that have there been tough times for Belichick and Brady this year? There have been. Has it been different than other years? In some ways, yes. I think probably some people would still say, hey, listen, I will take our situation as it is.
Right.
Given the circumstances we have in front of us. We are watching football this Saturday and Sunday to find out our opponent for next Saturday. Pretty good spot to be in, all things considered.
Yeah, it is. Listen, there's no situation that's ever perfect. Behind the scenes, it's always a little more rough than you think. But as we've been saying, it's been pretty good for them over the years. I guess coming down to this with the triumvirate here that we're talking about,
the holy trinity of football.
I guess to boil it down, and so many people are going to really break this down, is Kraft chose Brady. Is that what you can get to?
That's what. So it felt like if people believe this is a choice, it feels like Bob Kraft temporarily chose Tom Brady. He chose the emotions of Tom Brady in the situation surrounding Jimmy Garoppolo over the pragmatic football decision-making of Bill Belichick. But, I think this takes on a whole new life if it results in an action, right? If it results in somebody, hey, the Patriots moving on from Tom Brady.
Right.
Or, hey, Bill Belichick deciding to no longer be with the Patriots.
Well, that's the only thing that can happen at this point, right? Because Bob Kraft is basically, if this played out this way, he said he's staying.
Right.
So the only one who would be going would be that guy.
Right. And I'm not saying it can't happen. Based off people that I've spoken with, I've been given no indication.
No way it's happening.
That Bill Belichick has any desire to leave the game of football. Bill Belichick is for my money, the greatest football coach ever.
Maybe the greatest coach ever.
Maybe the greatest coach in all of team sports ever. He's also a pretty simple man in that, his interest outside of football, it's not this vast array
of... It's lacrosse.
It's right. It's lacrosse. Right? It's spending time with his family on Nantucket. That's kind of what he does. He plays golf. It's a short list there. So it's not as if, it'd be one thing if you felt like this was somebody who was compelled by the opportunities outside of football and saw a ton of life to go experience. Be difficult for me to envision Bill Belichick not returning to the Patriots next year.
Or I think it would be very difficult to envision him not being involved in football somewhere if he wanted to. But I think Field Yates with us, our ESPN insider, the thing that Mike and I sort of came to this morning is, from a football perspective, we sort of understood why you would trade Jimmy Garoppolo, because the only way you were going to keep him past the deadline was you're going to have to put a franchise tag on him, and you're not going to put your franchise tag on your backup quarterback. Now, it was weird when at the time they didn't have a backup quarterback. They went and got Brian Hoyer, who was familiar with them. But if you think about the logistics, if you believed, and clearly the impetus and the indication was they believed Tom, or someone did believe that Tom was going to be able to play this way for 2 or 3 more years, there was no real way to keep Jimmy Garoppolo.
No, that's fair. And so I did say earlier that, I thought the sort of pragmatic approach by the Patriots was intending to keep Jimmy Garoppolo through this season. And one of the ways that you justify that is by using the franchise tag on him, which does work. We've seen it work with the Patriots previously. Matt Castle, after filling in for Brady in 2008, was franchise tagged. At the same time, he had been starting for the entire year, and at that point, the franchise tag was $14.7 million. It'll be around $25 million this year.
For the guy that was going to be your backup.
Right. So for the guy that's going to be your backup, and remember, when you franchise tag a player, obviously you can trade him, and immediately that franchise tag hit is you're washed of that.
Right.
But you have to have $25 million in cap space available in order to franchise tag a player. So it would have been the Patriots having to clear 1/7 of their salary cap for Jimmy Garoppolo to put him into a holding pattern. At that point, you could entertain trade offers. And I'll say this, too, is I think part of the reason why we're talking about this Jimmy Garoppolo trade in the vein that we are right now is how well he played. If Jimmy Garoppolo had gone to San Fran and either not started because C.J. Beathard stayed healthy or had just been average, we wouldn't be talking about this in quite the same way that we are right now. It feels like people are like, whoa, did they get rid of the next Tom Brady for only a second-round pick? So part of it is how Jimmy has played. But remember, when the Patriots were dealing with the possibility of trading Jimmy Garoppolo, The sample size of starts for him was 6 quarters.
Right.
It was a win against the Arizona Cardinals.
And he got hurt.
Right. And so we talk about their greatest ability being your availability. He gets hurt in his second start. So to justify the trade, not only was it probably the last chance they had to trade him, second of all, do we know what the competing offers were that would have been substantially better than what looked like at the time the 33rd or 34th pick in the upcoming draft?
So, in just about a minute left, the other side of this, Alex Guerrero, the guru for Tom Brady, sure. Is that part of it going to kind of time will smooth this over because he's basically been ousted? I mean, he's not around anymore for the sidelines or the stadium or the charter trips. He just runs a TB12 center. So is that going to kind of just go away?
I kind of think so. What's the recourse for Alex Guerrero here? He can't do anything about it. And for Brady, Brady is still getting his treatment and still working with Alex on the time that he has, which there's plenty of time for him to see Alex Guerrero on a day-to-day basis or week-to-week basis, whatever it is. I think it kind of smooths itself over. I think, personally, a lot of tension within a building can smooth itself over whenever the season concludes. If they win the Super Bowl this year, even if some of this still percolates, which is possible, you can still be successful while not being, entirely eye-to-eye with somebody.
See Barry Switzer for the Cowboys when they won Super Bowl 30.
No doubt about it.
There were issues on that team.
You know what can sort of rejuvenate you? 6 weeks away from the facility. Yeah. You come back and you have new life, you're excited. Sometimes time does heal a lot of the wounds.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it plays out going forward. Look, it's an interesting dynamic, and we should all have this kind of issue and be 13-3 and have the number 1 overall seed.
I was going to say, I got to start hating people more in my life, and then maybe I'll start getting successful.
Don't be that guy. You're doing great. What's left of Field Yates? What was your playing weight?
200 pounds.
Yeah, and now you're 110. It's ridiculous.
A little more than 110. Yeah,
he's a pipe cleaner, ladies and gentlemen.
You're being so mean to him.
No, I'm complimentary. Complimentary.
All right.
I wish I could look like Field on many levels.
One last thing. Great CBI pullover.
There you go. Chatham Bar's in.
That's right.
It was Summers on Nantucket. You were talking about yourself as well as Bill Belichick.
There you go.
The minister, Field Yates, with us on Golic and Wingo. Thanks very much.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
It was all sort of one big giant Jell-O mold. It's very interesting where that went.
This is 5 Point Stance on Golic and Wingo.
All right, we'll start with the first game of the weekend, which will be on ESPN and simulcast on ABC. The Titans will be in Kansas City taking on the Chiefs. And if you're looking for a key to this game, how about explosive plays? The Titans have allowed 40 explosive plays this season, fewest in the NFL, and the Chiefs' average touchdown from scrimmage was 27 yards, the most by any team in the last 10 seasons.
Yeah, listen, the explosive plays you're looking for. The Titans were a team this year I thought would actually win the division, and obviously that went to Jacksonville. We saw Mariota regress a bit, from that draft class. He and Jameis Winston both regress a bit. They're going to play this game without DeMarco Murray. The two-headed monster of DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry, I think, has been really, really good for them. So I think that does hurt them a little bit. But they do allow those, it's the fewest, as we said, in the NFL. And the Chiefs, early in the season, we saw how many home run hits they had, especially out of Kareem Hunt. But Alex Smith firing the ball down the field a little bit. They've always had that. But then all of a sudden, it seemed like Kareem Hunt was not touching the ball as much as he was early in the season. That Alex Smith was kind of reverting back to that more the side throws than down the field throws. So I don't know where to go with them. They've lost an NFL record 5 consecutive home playoff games, have the Chiefs. Which team are you going to see? What kind of defense are you going to see? I thought the Titans defense was going to take that a step forward this year as well. You have the pass rushers on that Kansas City defense. I think DeMarco Murray misses that, but because I think with Mariota struggling, you want to control the ball, running the ball, and you're losing a big one in DeMarco Murray for that.
Again, so the running game will basically be Derrick Henry and Marcus Mariota, who's a really good runner at the quarterback position, who looks like he's healthy. By the way, the other thing there, Derrick Henry called his own number soft last week. He said, I had 28 carries for 51 yards.
Yep.
That wasn't good enough. I need to be better. But you're right. There is no such thing as home field advantage when it comes to the Chiefs. 5 straight, as you said, home playoff losses. The last time they won a home playoff game, their quarterback was Joe Montana.
Wow, really?
1993. Joe Montana was the last starting quarterback to win a home game for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Find a way, the whole idea, especially it's been with Alex Smith, who used that kind of that swear word term of managing the game.
He's not that anymore.
No, I agree with that, but still, he get the ball in the hands of Tyreek Hill, of Travis Kelce, of Kareem Hunt. That's what you need to do, whether it's downfield on deep throws or in space to let them create their own thing. I think we've seen two Kansas City teams this year, so which one shows up this weekend?
Well, let's hope it's the one that started 5-0 or the one that finished, I think, 3-4, and not the one in between, because that team's not going to win you a playoff game, and they've seen far too many of those home playoff flameouts already in Kansas City. Golic and Wingo with you here on your Friday morning, getting you through the 5-point stance. Talk about the Rams now. The Rams enter the 2017 postseason and the NFL's top scoring team, a distinction the Falcons held in the 2016 postseason. And 3 of the last 4 scoring champs reached the Super Bowl, and each of the last 5 at least made it to their respective conference championship game.
Listen, what this team has done, the turnaround it's done, and a lot of it has to go with, you talk about different levels, college, pro, of what coaching means. And you just have to be honest. What has coaching meant to this team with a 31-year-old coach and the assistants that he has brought in and the atmosphere that he wants?
Without
Sean
question.
McVay has been incredible especially for a guy in Jared Goff, who after 0-7 last year, people wanted to throw him on the junk heap already. It was unbelievable. But what a turnaround. A couple of additions on the offensive line. Todd Gurley getting involved in the way that you wanted him to, over 1,300 yards rushing, catching the ball, 64 receptions, I think is a monster thing that has to happen with running backs in the game right now. And then a defense, I'm looking forward to this pass rush. Both these defenses, they're not overly large, and they rely on that quickness, especially that Atlanta defense. So Atlanta getting after Goff, and that defensive line for the Rams getting after Matt Ryan, because neither one of these quarterbacks is that unbelievable athlete that's going to escape and just burn you running down the field.
Right.
These guys are going to want to be more in the pocket, and they're going to look, even if they get outside the pocket, to try and make a play downfield. And both teams have good pass rushing ability, especially the team that has the best D lineman in the game in Aaron Donald.
I'm glad you said that, because I don't think there's any player that's head and shoulders above everyone else at his position better than Aaron Donald is at his position in the NFL. And the front line of that Falcons offensive line is a little banged up, and that was a big reason why they made it to the Super Bowl a year ago. If Donald and Brockers on the inside can get going, and then you got Quinn and Connor Barwin on the outside, that defensive line for the Rams could indeed take over. And we talk a lot about the Bills and their playoff drought. The Rams last made the playoffs in 2004. They had the third longest playoff drought going into this season, so they have gotten that turned around as we continue with our 5-point stance. The Falcons are back in the playoffs after losing Super Bowl 51, 28-3. The last team to reach the Super Bowl the year after losing it was the Bills in 1993, part of their 4 straight years where they went to the Super Bowl and lost all 4 times.
Listen, we thought this was going to be a team that was going to fit that mold of losing the Super Bowl and then not make it to the playoffs, even though as of late that has been less and less the case. But they were not playing well. The offense still, you wonder what's going on. Again, they lose Kyle Shanahan as their offensive coordinator, the head coach out in San Francisco. So with Steve Sarkisian now running the show there, it just hasn't looked the same with the same players. That's the odd thing to me. So where are you putting it? Now I know Julio Jones and Sanu have been nicked up a little bit. Does this go more on Matt Ryan? Is it a Matt Ryan Sarkisian the relationship? Is it Matt Ryan's play going back from regressing a bit from MVP MVP was the MVP last year? I don't know. I think it's a great question, because you got the two-headed running attack, even though they've gone through being nicked up a little bit this year between Coleman and Freeman. I've been surprised at the offense, the lackluster performance for most of the year compared to last year.
Yeah.
And I look at this defense. That's
the reason they're in the playoffs, the defense.
Yeah. This defense, the speed of their defense. But I look at this offense attacking the Rams. Quite honestly, I think they're going to have more success. You say you have Julio Jones and Sanu. I think they could have more success running the ball. I think the Rams can get run on, getting passed on with that pass rush that they have. Is you're going to get, I think, quicker pressure on Ryan. So I'll be interested to see the routes that are used. If you're getting the quicker pressure, how much shorter the routes, and if those secondary guys are going to jump those routes if the ball has to come out quicker. That's what a 4-man quick pressure D-line rush gets you. It gets you the ball coming out quicker, and it gets your secondary with the ability to take some chances.
Well, look, not only is it impossible to get back to the Super Bowl after losing, we talked about that. It's been since the Bills in 1993. Only twice in the Super Bowl era has a team lost the Super Bowl the previous year and went on to win it the next year. In Super Bowl V, the Cowboys lost to the Colts 16-13. Chuck Howley, the MVP in that game, the only losing MVP in Super Bowl
here
history.
You go again.
And then went on to win Super Bowl VI. They beat the Miami Dolphins in Super Bowl VI. The Dolphins then went on to win Super Bowl VII and Super Bowl VIII. So it's only happened twice, and it happened in back-to-back Super Bowls, Super Bowls 5 and 6, and we're on Super Bowl 52. It is the most impossible thing to do in football in the Super Bowl era. Lose the Super Bowl the next year, come back and win it the next.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
Let's not expect too much. There's only one person out there that's expecting way too much out of this guy too early. We know who that is. It's his father.
Let's continue our 5-point stance right now. Talking about Tyrod Taylor and the Blake Bortles. These two quarterbacks making their first career playoff starts on Sunday. Since 2013, quarterbacks making their playoff debuts are 1-10, and the only quarterback to win was Brock Osweiler last year.
How about that?
And he faced another quarterback in his debut in Connor Cook.
Yeah. You know, this matchup, I guess for either one, in either team, neither team is really want to rely on their quarterback to win it, though Buffalo may get put in that situation if Shady McCoy can't play.
Right.
Or is not less than 100%. And with Tyrod Taylor, then it's going to be even more than passing. It's going to be him running the ball as well. You know, he's a guy that didn't throw for a lot of touchdowns, but also he didn't throw a lot. Didn't throw a lot of interceptions. 14 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions, so he didn't turn the ball over. Still inexplicably benched at one point in the season, which was one of the more bizarre moves there was this year.
Well, not only that, but that move almost cost them the playoffs. It was the game against the Chargers where Nathan Peterman threw 5 interceptions in the first half. Now, I get it. Some of those were deflected balls, but also times where he was under duress and they were facing Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram, maybe the best duo of pass rushers in the NFL. So why would you not want Tyrod Taylor, your most mobile quarterback in that game? And had all of those teams finished with the same record, there was a situation where that one game might have cost the Bills the playoffs because of the loss to the LA Chargers.
Yeah, I mean that was an interesting move there to say the least. And for Jacksonville, listen, can you trust Blake Bortles?
Well,
Blake Bortles had
the question.
3 weeks. He had 3 really good games. He finished off the season not too well for the season, 60%, 21 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Do you trust him to win the game? You don't want to have to. It's what we've talked about all year. Jacksonville wants to win with defense in the running game, but you never know. Here it's win and go home, or win or go home, I should say. So it may get put on his shoulders, some of this, and how does he come through?
Well, that's the thing. Weeks 13, 14, and 15 of this year, Blake Bortles did something he had never done in his entire NFL career. 3 straight games, multiple touchdown passes in each, 0 interceptions in each. So you're thinking, hey, maybe he's got it. And then the last 2 weeks, multiple interceptions in both of those games, which really was a struggle. By the way, continuing that point about the stats and Tyrod Taylor and Blake Bortles making their debuts, quarterbacks may not be the only thing to tell us because the Bills and Jags are the two NFL's most run-heavy teams. The Bills had 487 runs against 476 passes. The Jags had 527 runs and 527 passes on the dime. You want balance?
Yeah.
The Jaguars found a way to have balance.
The problem for, I think, Buffalo here is their run defense. Their run defense is 29th in the league. And Jacksonville runs the ball really well.
And the interesting thing there is, what did they do before the trade deadline? They traded away their run stuffer, Marcel Darius. Where did they trade him to? Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Jacksonville was dead last against the run when they made that trade, and I think over the rest of the season they managed to get it up to 7th best against the run. Maybe you want to keep Marcel Darius around.
2 inexperienced playoff quarterbacks, 2 inexperienced playoff teams.
Yep.
Jacksonville, to me, is just the better team.
That
it's
front
just a better
7,
team,
and then A.J. Boye and Jalen Ramsey on the outside. By the way, those were the only 2 teams that either ran it as much or as more than they passed it. Every other team in the NFL passed it more than they ran it in 2017. And we finish up 5-point stance with the Saints going for a 3-game sweep of Carolina. Since the AFL-NFL merger of 1970, There have been 20 instances of a team going 2-0 in the regular season and then meeting a third time. 13 times they completed that 3-game sweep.
So, the odds are in their favor to do that. They are, favored, I think, by like 6.5. I don't know what the latest line. They got the early lines here. I don't know what the latest ones are, but they're favored in this one. And again, we say this about New Orleans. The last time they had a rushing attack like this, they won the Super Bowl. I mean, it couldn't have come at a better time. Take the pressure off of Drew Brees. He still has great receivers. Michael Thomas has been unbelievable.
He's been phenomenal
for him. And the defense, that's been the biggest turnaround. The two biggest surprises is one you didn't know about because he's a rookie, and that's Kamara. You had no idea. You knew he was a versatile back, but you had no idea he was going to take the league by storm the way he did. And then paired with Mark Ingram, how good it was going to be. But the more surprising thing is their defense has flat out stunk over the last few years, and now it is a really good defense the way they're playing on all their levels. And it's rookies who are helping there. Lattimore in the secondary, a rookie for them, Kamara, a rookie in the backfield for them, and how well both of those guys are playing.
Well, the one thing that you have to do if you have a quarterback like Drew Brees that you are paying $1 gazillion or $30 million a year, you have to absolutely nail it when it comes to free agency, and you have to nail it in the draft. And one thing that they've done this year with their draft has been unbelievable. Our great researcher, Evan Kaplan, who works a lot with us on NFL Live and Sunday NFL Countdown, put out a great tweet, and I'm trying to find it right now. But basically, they hit on every single one of their top 4 draft picks this past season. Everything that they did was right. They have a couple of Pro Bowlers in Kamara.
They have Lattimore was taken in the first round.
Ramczyk played every snap this year.
He was playing some left tackle, then he's over at right tackle. Then Marcus Williams is safety.
And I think he started for 50.
Hey there, I'm a glue stick, so I have one job. I glue kid stuff. So sorry for being jealous of Geico, who does a ton more, like give you 24/7 access to thousands of licensed agents. And Geico has been around for over 75 years and has a 97% customer satisfaction rating. While I've just got mediocre adhesive skills, Geico also has an award-winning mobile app. Uh-oh, arts and crafts time. No eating the glue stick, Miss Lydia.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
This is the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast.
What better way to start a football Friday right before the playoffs in the NFL? A little Cardi B to get us going.
Cardi B and Bruno Mars, man.
What was it? Finesse is the name of that
Finesse,
song?
yeah.
See, that's me. That's me associating with the kids.
See?
Yeah, that's me. If we believe that this guy over here, that disembodied voice of Michael Jr. is still a kid, which is.
Do you think your son Chappie, who is my daughter's age, or he's 22, 23, 22?
Yeah.
Do you think he's at home if he's listening right now going, wow, Dad's cool?
A, he's not listening.
Yeah,
that's fair. A, he's definitively not listening. Right. And B, no, I don't think he's ever said
Good
that.
video, though, right?
Yeah, quality video, big-time tribute to In Living Color. Bruno Mars still got the juice.
Mars.
Unparalleled levels of juice.
When they sit there and talk about what would you like to do for that one thing? And I said, I'd love to be LeBron for a day and know what it's like to be one of the greatest athletes in the world. I'd love to dance like Bruno Mars.
Him and Justin Timberlake.
Can move. Move.
J. Tim's got a new album out, too. It dropped called Friday, if I'm not mistaken.
I know he put out a new single last night.
I think the album is called Friday.
Yeah.
Friday. We got me relating.
We got new JT. We got Cardi B's basically on everything right now. I'm sure she's up listening to the show, so we appreciate her.
Hey, whatever you need to tell yourself. We welcome you in to Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. We are here for a Football Friday. The playoffs are here.